Every dealer has signed contracts with vendors and then just had the deal fall apart during the onboarding. Today's guest knows when that happens, why that happens, and more importantly, knows how to fix that from happening again. Curtis Driver, he's the Omnichannel Digital Sales Manager at Capital Automotive Group. He spent 20 years working inside the real dealerships, managing vendors, the tools, and especially like looking over the BDC's performance. He's onboarded, he's failed, and he's really built a playbook around how to maximize the relationship with vendors, starting with the onboarding. If you want smoother launches and better results from the partners that you're already paying, this one's worth the time. This is Word on the Street. I'm Andrew Street. Please follow and subscribe if you have not already for more conversations like this. But ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this conversation with Curtis Driver. Well, Curtis, I'm honored that you have been able to jump on. You've been someone that's certainly been near the top of my list after watching you present at a Vendor 20 event. But could you just give me a quick breakdown of your role in the dealer group you work with?
Yeah, so I'm the Omnichannel Digital Sales Manager for Capital Auto Group. We're based in North Carolina. I'm based in Raleigh. In my current role, I support really focus on BDC performance with our individual rooftops, and then supporting our teams in store with vendors, tools, onboarding, utilization, and really figuring out who we need to partner with, and then making sure we're getting the most out of those partnerships.
I hear a lot more marketing people in your role working closely with the BDC, just as leads are getting flowing in and being distributed and being nurtured and being qualified. Has that always been kind of like an aspect of the marketing role for you?
So I think it has. It's whenever we're talking, because we have an agency that we work very closely with, long partnership. They do fantastic work. And whenever you're talking about marketing, getting the opportunities to the store is one thing, but then what's actually happening with those opportunities when they make contact, submit a lead, or just walk into the front door, that's where the rubber really meets the road. So if you're just judging based on close rates, but not looking at the actual actions that are taking place in the store and how your team is interacting with customers, then you can't truly, I don't think you can truly judge how effective your marketing is. Because you could have the best marketer, you could have the best marketing team in the world giving you the 1,000 high quality leads a month, but if you drop the ball, then what have you really done? So I think when you're talking about marketing, the in-store and communication part of it with our BDCs and our teams is something that has to be part of the conversation.
In my experience, it's like I feel like there's an easy conversation, but it's a trained conversation that the agency and the account managers can have with the dealership. That's not a super long conversation, but it's just to get a good understanding of how that dealership's equipped. And if their needs are new car leads, qualifying them, how they're nurturing those leads. Is it automated? Is it a virtual BDC? Is it an in-house BDC? Is it a cradle to grave that, a lot of, they can't take a ton of crap leads, but if we can qualify them more before we give them to them, or is it automated where we can just flood in leads and then get a grasp of that before starting the advertising and tweaking the
Yeah,
advertising?
yeah. One of the things that I really, really, really like about our group is we're a mid-sized group, but we let each store kind of have its own flair, its own personality. So we have different BDC setups, different sales team setups at almost every store. I mean, we've from the corporate support team level, we can go in, give best practices, we can help analyze processes, but ultimately the GMs have the freedom to kind of make their own calls and set their teams up the way they want. So that does play into what each store's needs and wants are for leads and for marketing. To your point, we've got stores that will say give me every lead, and they want 2,000 leads a month when they're selling 150, 200 cars. And then we've got stores that really want to narrow it down and focus on higher quality, high converting sources. And if something's not performing, they don't have the manpower and bandwidth to handle it. So we'll move on from it.
Yeah, and it's also like understanding, I think, the manufacturers too. It's like, are we selling Rolls Royces or are we selling Mitsubishis? And each one has sort of a different type of customer that's more and less willing to jump through hoops and be responsive to SMS and phone calls.
Yep. And even, I mean, we're domestic heavy. We've got a lot of Ford stores, a lot of GM stores, and even within markets, I mean, different things work at different dealerships. We've got dealerships in markets where it's all about the phone, and almost every lead answers the phone when you call. Their inbound phone ups are disproportionately high. And then we've got markets where you cannot get a customer to answer the phone to save your life. And it's all about text messaging or all about email. So ultimately, about with the OEMs. Every OEM gives us good guidance, good guidelines on who their customer base is, but I think it's even more local than that. And
Mhm.
you really have to kind of play around with getting a sense for what your local market wants.
I like the sound of that market where people answer their phone.
You and
Car
me,
buyers are answering phones is where I want to open up my dealership.
you
Yeah. Well, the way that I've heard your name a number of times just because you've got a good reputation as a strong operator, but then I had a chance to watch you present at a Vendor 20 Group event where you seem to have written the book more than anybody I've ever listened to about onboarding vendors with the dealership in a harmonious way. And it sounds like you're coming from a precautionary tale of things that haven't worked well in the past. Why does onboarding break so often with dealerships and vendors?
I think onboarding breaks really when we start treating the contract signing like a finish line instead of the starting gun. The excitement wears off, the vendor goes quiet, stores left wondering who's driving the bus. Dealerships run on momentum. If you've ever worked in a store, when I was at the sales tower, I want a showroom full of people because it's easier to close deals when you've got 30 other tables working deals and everybody feels like they're part of something. So when that momentum stalls with vendors, trust erodes very, very quickly. In my experience, most onboarding failures aren't technical failures, they're expectation failures, and that usually starts within the first few weeks.
And so what does it feel like when you have a smooth onboarding, a
Um,
good onboarding?
a smooth onboarding feels natural. It doesn't feel like you're having to force anything. It feels like the it when we're working with a new vendor and our teams at the store really feel like the vendor understands how they do business, how they operate, and can bring them a tool and teach them how to fit it into their operations without fundamentally changing what they're doing and make their teams more efficient. That's when everybody walks away from onboarding feeling good and when we have long-term partnerships.
Yeah, I feel like I've constantly been on a quest to not have a dealership change anything operationally or staffing wise or, training sales teams that have a fair amount of turnover to needing to install mobile apps and go through a different process. It's like really getting a sense up front for where is this dealership and make sure that we're integrating with their systems when possible, and when not, let's not do it. Like, let's just do the things that work within their platforms, within their CRM.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a lot of vendors I work with. I think everybody is super passionate about their company, their tool, their product. But what they forget is in the dealership world, they're one of 30. They're one of 30 dashboards, one of 30 logins. Are As a sales manager at a dealership, if you don't actually have ADD but want to know what it feels like to have ADD, go work at a sales tower for a day because it is a constant barrage of people needing something, tasks that have to get done, things that need to get looked at. And if you can't, as a vendor, if you can't find a way to slot into that that's natural and impactful, then it's your tool's just not. It's not going to work. If I expect somebody to log in and look at one thing for 30 seconds every single day without finding a better way to put that information in front of them, it's just not going to happen.
Has there been a good way that you've experienced that vendors are able to get information in front of you without you needing to log onto their dashboard, without it being necessarily like a scheduled monthly call, but a short video or a SMS?
Yeah, so SMS text works great. A lot of our teams, especially our managers in the dealership, they will respond to a text message 4 times faster than they'll respond to an email. A lot of us that aren't in the dealership day to day live in our emails. That's how we communicate. On a corporate level, that's how we communicate. But in the dealership world, you may look at a sales manager may look at their email once or twice a day tops. They have their phone on them constantly. Videos, short update videos are something that I've seen a few vendors start to use. Actually, I'll shout her out. My rep for Co-Video was fantastic at doing this, and it's quick. It's 3 minutes. It's digestible. We can watch it, get a quick update, and then set up a call if we need to. We're all inundated with Zoom calls, team calls. It's not realistic to expect managers to get on them constantly. But the important thing I think for any vendor out there, even for me when I'm trying to communicate something to our teams at the store, is you've got to figure out the person you're communicating with. I mean, it's the basics of communication. The person you're communicating with, how do they want to be communicated with, and then and then just tailor my messaging and my delivery method to what's actually going to sink in and be understood and read. So it's not one size fits all. Even within a group like us, it's every every manager is a little bit different.
Because this is something I think as like a marketing firm that we're constantly kind of tasked with, and that's communicating an effective message, not just clicks and line graphs, but here's what we're finding, here's what we're seeing with similar stores, here's some ideas that we could shift budget into, or if you have an extra couple $1,000 this month, here's something we can push. I see you guys are number 2 in certified pre-owned. What if we allocate more budget, just to be able to have like more of a proactive message that maybe the dealer doesn't already know.
Yeah.
And that is something that the vendor can impact from their desk. And it's like, okay, they don't want to have calls with our account manager because what we're doing, because business is good and they don't need to have conversations, just keep going. So it's like, okay, can we make a video? So I'm having everybody make these short videos that have enough meat on them where the dealer can say, sounds good, or absolutely not, don't make this change. We're still focused on, Elantras or whatever they're focused on. Have you found a good cadence for what makes a good video?
So I think the prevalence of short form video in the auto industry, whether it's communicating with customers or internal communications or communicating with vendors, I think it all stems from the rise of short form video on social. So I think about Instagram Reels, TikTok, your 2-3 minutes tops. I may see the same person on Instagram Reels or TikTok once every week or so. It's not an everyday thing, and it may not be an every week thing, but ultimately I think the reason those algorithms work is because they serve you up something that's engaging. So if you don't have anything important to say, maybe it's a quick weekly 30-second video, and then once a month you shoot a 5-minute video. But if you start sending me 5-10 minute videos once a week and there's no meat to them, I'm gonna stop watching them. So whatever your cadence is, the more important than the cadence is that the videos contain something impactful and some kind of call to action or some kind of action item that you want feedback on.
Let's I'm super interested in the onboarding thing, and I like how you guys focused on it because it's something that's not spoken about enough. and focused on, but it's been like a huge crux for dealers that lose money during a rugged onboarding process. That's a heavy lift and poorly communicated. Where do you feel like dealers really start to lose patience during onboarding?
So I think dealers, the first place I lose patience is when there's silence. Um, Even if there's stuff going on in the background, if you're not communicating with me that you're working on these setups, you're working on these integrations, I assume that nothing's being done. The dealers assume that nothing's being done, and the shiny wears off really quickly. So and then the other place that I lose patience is there's a fine line between pushing for action items that you need and giving dealers reasonable time frames to respond to emails and respond to requests. I think one thing that a lot of our vendors forget is most dealership employees, everybody works Saturdays, so everybody takes a day off during the week. So if you send an email on a Tuesday morning needing something from somebody, that person may well be off that Tuesday and not get back, and they're inundated with stuff on Wednesday, and it takes them a little bit to respond. So push for what you need, but also recognize the realities of people working in dealerships, because as soon as you make somebody mad, you're out with them in the dealer world.
It
So
sounds like there's some really,
that
say that again.
really hard to recover from that once that conversation starts going negative. And especially because we ask that everybody gets CC'd on everything during onboarding for visibility and just for assistance where we can step in. But as soon as you call somebody at the dealership out or escalate unnecessarily, you've lost them, and it's really difficult to get them to turn back around on whatever it is that you're putting in place.
I feel like there's some simple stuff that vendors should be like a non-negotiable thing, just to ask questions while they're, before or after the contract sign of, how do you like to communicate? What's the best method for me to be able to communicate with you? What day are you off? Are you, and start to be like, okay, let's not have that recurring
Yep.
meeting on Mondays. If you're not at work on Mondays, let me just be, at least acknowledge this and have a footnote in my CRM or whatever I'm using to know you as a customer, as well as your dealership, as well as your customers, your market. Is there something that you think vendors can do before the contract sign to ensure that there's like a smooth onboarding?
So I think having conversations about, or being being able to deliver a clear roadmap and communicate everything that needs to happen from contract signing to go live is really important, just for transparency, and so that everybody sees everything that needs to be done. Kind of step by step onboarding is really frustrating for everybody. And I think leads to unnecessary delay on the vendor side, not just on the dealer side, because I may know internally that this action item, I've got to go through 5 extra steps to get it done that you may not know we internally have. So if you give me everything at once, we can kind of help manage that process. It may not be exactly the timeline and the order that you are accustomed to doing it, but we can kind of help piece everything together to make it a little bit
Yeah,
smoother.
yeah. And do you have a feeling for like, is it just case by case, or just like with adding a vendor to the whole group going in tranches of a few stores at a time, or does it just depend?
Yeah, so if we're rolling something out to the whole group at once, you have to go in waves. It is almost, we're 25-ish dealerships, um, trying to roll some we trying to roll something out to everybody and launch to everybody at the same time. It's incredibly difficult to manage. So having some breakdown of different phases, different waves, whatever you want to call it, it just makes things more manageable. And because everybody is a little bit different. I mean, we've got every store's on the same CRM except for 3. We've got every store on the same DMS except for 2. There's always exceptions across groups, and a lot of that comes from acquisitions or for contracts or piloting different stuff. So going in waves lets us help. It lets us standardize it, but then also gives us space for those one-offs without it getting lost in the shuffle.
Okay. Have you had any like experiences with like a clean first, 1 month of launching with a new vendor that there's something that they're doing that's made it a lot smoother? Is it a checklist or documentation and, a list of contacts that are a good point of contact within the vendor and within the dealership?
So a little bit of all of that, but I think the biggest thing that leads to a smooth launch is really focusing on training managers how to quickly see utilization and training them on accountability within your tool. A lot of times we teach everybody at the store how to use a tool, but we don't do a great job of teaching managers how do I see if I'm putting a new video tool in a store, how do I have we trained the managers to quickly see what the utilization rate is, what the open rate is at their store versus waiting 30 or 60 days post launch for the first performance call, and then all of a sudden we realize nobody's using it or we're doing something wrong. So focusing on the manager aspects during onboarding is always leads to a smoother actual launch and increased utilization rates.
And it sounds like once launched, have like maybe that 7-10 day touch point.
Yep.
It doesn't even need to be a sit down Zoom with everybody. Just a video of something or something that just shows this video tool has been used by these 6 employees, and here's some of the response rate we're seeing on our end.
Yep.
Great early start. Here's the weeks moving forward. Here's what we've seen like our most successful dealerships able to do with this tool.
Yeah, and handoffs to the customer success team. I mean, that's something that gets overlooked so often. And what I've seen happen is we'll be 30, 60 days, 90 days, even longer sometimes into using something. Somebody from the store has an issue, and instead of reaching out to their customer success manager that they might not have interacted with, or they were off and the CSM met with another manager, they start reaching out to the onboarding team because that's the last person they talk to. That's who they know supports this product. Then the onboarding team either doesn't respond, they feel like or they hand them off to somebody. Now our employee feels like they just got shoved aside, pushed off to somebody. But that's a huge gap that I see happen all the time. And that handoff and that CSM being kind of up in everybody's face kind of a lot during the first 90 days is really critical. So that way, when there is a problem, the right people get notified and can step in to fix it quickly.
Such a dance.
Yes.
That we're continually, hopefully improving on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's our job. I mean, it's heavily weighted on the vendor, I think, but it's amazing to get like a perspective from a dealer who's seen it go poorly and seen it go well, and has had 20 years of experience to develop some opinions and best practices. So you should write a book on this at some point.
A vendor last week that called me and was frustrated and kind of blaming it on the store because 6 months after we launched something, they had an issue, and we're, like I just mentioned, we're reaching out to the implementation team, and they're like, well, it's not our fault because we don't know about it if nobody tells the right people. And I'm like, look, man, if they don't know who to reach out to at the store, that's not our problem. That's on you. You got to take a little responsibility here.
Yeah. And it's hard to hear. It's like, well, our tool's just magic and it works. And now you're signed up. It should be humming.
If
it's your fault that you're not using it.
Magic and just works and you don't have to actively stay in front, then I hope you enjoy cancellation emails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then the salesperson's back involved.
You got to own your product.
So your role, you had mentioned, it's omnichannel digital sales. Is that right?
Yep.
That's the first time I've heard that title.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah. What does omnichannel digital sales mean, I guess, to
So
you?
omni-channel, it's omni-channel digital sales is think of think of go back 5, 10 years when everybody was rolling out, when DR tools were the big thing that everybody's rolling out, these omni-channel digital retailing tools that can go fully end to end. Then during COVID, it transitioned to, okay, let's elevate these digital retail tools to let customers buy cars completely online. Well, the problem is, and we saw this firsthand through some projects that we had internally, and we even see this when we look at how somebody like the Carvana is structured with their call centers. Ultimately, customers say they want to buy cars completely online, but what their actions show us is at some point, nearly all customers are going to hop off of that path and want help. So omni-channel, for the way that I look at it, and what we're focused on with our group, is how can we be ever present in that whole customer journey, and then how can we make sure that we are ready to pick the ball up when a customer does raise their hand and say, okay, now I need help, wherever they are, and then offer a seamless transition to working with somebody in the store. Not asking customers to redo anything that they've already done, recognizing their past actions, and then just being wherever they're coming from at whatever point, being ready to receive them and then help move them along their pipeline and their purchasing path.
You make it sound so easy.
I wish it was.
No, I'm just kidding. It's certainly a a huge ask of a dealership to have visibility into where that customer is once they start the conversation with the store. And there's a lot of like tools that are available, but they're not really, as simple to tap into and pull meaningful information out of where this customer is and triage the like the seriousness of how hot that lead is. Like with the CDPs, like you mentioned digital retailing tools. I feel like that had a burning hot front plate that's cooled off a little bit. And we've got, some, the dust is settled where we see like maybe those are just like really qualified leads that filled out more information than other ones. But with like a CDP, where do you feel like those are starting to settle into?
So, if I feel like this year was AI. Every conference I went to. Last year was all of the year of the CDP. Um, CDPs, I think, are incredibly valuable tools, but it's a lot to bite off to do it correctly. And a lot of like our group, we've been slower. We've been slower to try to bite off and build something internally, just as we continue to evaluate, what setup actually makes sense for us. Geographically, we're all spread out. So we have a lot of conversations about group level versus individual store CDPs. And then we're kind of dabbling a little bit with a couple of vendor partners that I think of it as like a CDP light, that are doing some ownership outreach, some life cycle management for us, and we're seeing good returns. So we're kind of still in the dipping our toes in the water phase of CDPs, just because it is a huge and expensive lift to set something up at the group level. And we still want to make sure before we take that on that we have the right tools in place and processes to activate that data and see ROI on it.
That's, I feel like it's, one part is like, what does this dealership really need? We're
Yeah.
short on pre-owned pickup trucks. Let's find an excuse to use our CDP or our database and go after everybody who's purchased an F-150 from us over 2 years ago and let them know because of market conditions, we're aggressively buying pickup trucks. So now it's not just saying we buy cars or we want to buy your car back. It's like we're buying your car specifically. And people who've purchased who aren't doing routine services, okay, what do we do? Should we email them, text them, call them, run social ads to them? to try to see if we can improve on our loyalty from sales to service, get a better fixed absorption rate, and start to play with it with
Yep.
things that are meaningful for our bottom line, because it can be overwhelming because it's so much.
Yeah.
And it can get expensive, and it can become a huge distraction to try to really wrap your brain around it. Maybe it's just my brain because I went to public schools.
Well, it's no, not just you. I mean, and that's why we've taken a little bit more fractured approach rather than just setting up one big CDP or one source of truth. Is we like to be forward thinking, but also make sure that we stay flexible enough to partner with whoever is best in class of whatever it is they're doing. Sometimes that means that we partner with one vendor across sales, service, parts, body shops. Sometimes that means somebody that's doing service AI generated service maintenance interval outreach is better than the company that's doing sales AI. So we've rather than just kind of rather than saying, hey, we know how to do all of this better than anybody, we choose to partner with experts in their individual fields and kind of let them run. Because
Get
it's
those people who are like an inch wide, mile deep with
yeah,
the super specialty
it
thing.
is
Is that
wild
with AI?
space.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because it is wildly complex.
Yeah. Okay, good. I don't thanks for not making me feel alone on that. Um with AI and there's so many different ways to look at it, from making creative and copywriting and responding quickly and speed to lead and regurgitating old leads and heating them up. Where are you finding it to be beneficial at this point? Or are you finding it beneficial at all?
Yeah, so we are heavily partnered with a couple of different AI companies, both in sales and service, and are starting to move into some AI tools in the body shop. Ultimately, and we do let AI handle a lot of customer communications. Ultimately, the way that I see AI, and I think our group in general sees it, is we've got to look at AI as a tool to scale our employees, not replace our employees. So how do we make our employees whose time is incredibly valuable? How do we put them? If I've got a BDC agent, how do I use AI to do long-term follow-up, the repetitive tasks, and how do I maximize the amount of actual quality customer communications that BDC agent is having on a daily basis? An effective use of their time to send an email to a 30-day-old lead that has never responded, especially when almost everybody universally at some point just starts hitting send on templates in their tasks in the CRM. I don't need a live person to do that, and AI can take that on. But then on the flip side, we've got to train our agents. When you see engagement with an AI tool, how do you transition that, and how do you transition that conversation with a customer seamlessly to a live agent and a live person, and to, in the customer's view, have it seem like you're talking to a cohesive team. You're not just you didn't just get flipped from the chatbot to the person, and now you got to actually start the conversation.
Yeah, and start from square one. Like, hey, we just talked about all this.
Well, I can't remember ever having a tool with as many vendors coming into the space as voice AI right now, and almost everybody's starting in service. And the first question that I ask on every demo was, "What is your escalation path? What happens when the AI can't answer a question? What is the escalation path to a live person?" And you would be shocked how many times that question just gets met with awkward silence. But when you're looking at AI, you have to look at it as a part of your team, not a fragmented standalone thing that's just going to do everything for you.
Are you finding success with voice AI, SMS, chat?
So we have not moved heavily into voice AI yet. We're having a lot of conversations about that internally right now with a couple of different vendors, couple different newcomers into the space, some as well as some long-standing partners that we have that are moving into the voice space. Voice is complex. I'm perfectly comfortable with our AI tools, with text messaging and emailing customers, but voice is a whole nother animal. And there's a part of me, as much as I love as much as I love AI, and I use AI all day, every day, in various ways. There's a part of me that's still in the back of my mind is old school thinking that I've got teams of BDC agents, both sales and service, that spend all day long desperately trying to get customers on the phone. There's a part of me that's nervous about turning if somebody is engaged enough to pick the phone up and call the dealership. There's a part of me that's nervous about turning that over and not having that go right to a live person.
Yeah, and it's like, what type of customer too would be just appalled,
Yep.
that they're trying to buy a $90,000 vehicle, and they're talking with your robots who are pretending to be humans.
And ultimately, it's got to be able to answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the challenge with voice over text or email is with text or email, there's a natural built-in expected delay in response on the customer side. If I text somebody, I inherently understand it's okay. I inherently understand that it's going to take some time for them to text me back. It may be 30 seconds, it may be a couple minutes, but that's a reasonable time frame for a customer to receive a response. And that gives us a little bit of breathing room if the AI can't answer a question to step in and continue the conversation. That doesn't exist with voice. So I think that's the biggest challenge that voice AI companies are going to have is there is no natural break to turn something over. And at the end of the day, can
Mm-hmm.
AI truly answer, is this car that I want to come look at in 30 minutes? Is it on the lot? Is it available? That's a tough one.
Who's doing a good job right now of leveraging AI, or is it a bunch of different vendors, or have you
Uh,
found one that's
it's
crushing?
a bunch of different vendors. So it's funny because they all have different approaches and different specialties. But just to name a few, we're heavily partnered with Impel, both on sales service and database marketing. Heavily partnered with BusyCar on the service side of things. They do fantastic work. We're also heavily partnered with Numa, and Numa takes a very different approach to AI. They're what they're doing, and they, I guess, technically are in the voice space because it all originates on the phone. But their approach and the problems they're trying to solve are different than most other voice AI companies. So everybody right now is 2026 is going to be really interesting because right now everybody's kind of in their own little lanes, but from all the conversations we're having, I think 2026 is where you're going to see a lot of people start trying to play in other people's sandboxes.
We'll have to do like an anniversary version of this conversation and see
Yep.
where things are shaking up. Because like even the voice AI, it sounds so good. Like the demos I'm listening to, like the latency of them responding sounds so natural.
Oh, they're
What?
even the ones now that we're listening to where it's radically different than 4 months ago what we were listening to.
Yeah, it's an interesting time
Yep.
to be a part of this.
Yep.
To
It
just
and
to be alive, but but
but
to be finding good applications.
ultimately the thing that I always come back to whenever we're looking at a new AI vendor is do we have a problem or a deficiency in the store that this tool can solve, or is this just a really cool tool that we've got to go try to find and invent a problem for it to solve? And I think it's really easy to get caught in that second trap and just
Yeah,
them because it's really
we've
cool.
got a cool solution, but we don't have the problem yet. Let's
Yeah.
let's
Yep. The
exacerbate
problem we're
them.
solving has to actually exist.
Tell me this, from an omni-channel, that means you look at a lot of channels, I imagine, to really engage customers through the journey. Do you find specific channels that are getting more impactful or more important, or they're emerging?
So yes and no. I think the rather than individual, the way I see it is, rather than individual channels becoming more or less important, I think I tend to think about the fact that customers are touching more channels than they ever have before, which makes it harder for us because I feel like you almost have to be a little bit of everywhere. I think the last Cox journey that I read about said customers on average take 62 touch points before they finally convert. So rather than trying to focus on, and I mean, that's not to say that we don't have things that we focus on more. We don't place ad dollars in various channels over others, but ultimately you don't know exactly what it is that customer is going to sink in and make them actually click the button and start engaging with you. So you kind of have to be a little bit of everywhere, and have a little bit of presence, just as much as you can. Um, and then try to be in the right places at the right times with the right messaging that's relevant. I know that was very much a non-answer, but
No, it is an answer. It sounds like a pain to really make it, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I was hoping you were just going to say like one word, TikTok, it's going to explode, or something that's
magic. I don't have a magic anything. I don't have magic anything. And then, I mean, we were talking earlier about customers in different metros and localities being different. Marketing is no different. I mean, we're spread across largely just North Carolina, and even within North Carolina, we've got campaigns and tools and third-party listing companies and things that work at one store that just bomb at others inexplicably. So it's all, I think it's getting, as much as we think that everything's getting bigger and broader, I think we sometimes forget just how hyper localized our business actually can be.
Yeah, and then you start looking at attribution, you can go down a rabbit hole and really get into like the nitty-gritty of like using clairvoyant things to look at that customer and how do they end up driving off of our lot in that vehicle. And then you see like, okay, they went to Car Gurus. We're not even on Car Gurus. Okay, but that was part of their journey, but they ended up coming back through here.
Looking at clairvoyant click trails is the most fascinating and maddening thing that you can possibly do when you're trying to figure out where to place ad dollars.
Right. It's like this person's been all over the place. Cool. Now what? What should we be doing differently? Or what should I be doing more of?
I said earlier, Cox says it's 62 touch points. Okay, well, this customer, it's 334. So, like, I mean, how do you capture that? How do you capture that?
Yeah, got to give credit to every single vendor along the way who's helped make those touch points. And every single one can be like, okay, we got that sale.
Yep.
All right. Could we do some rapid fire questions? A lot of them are going to be about onboarding because, again, I think you stand alone as like the authority on onboarding for dealers. But the big one too, are you going to be speaking at NADA about this topic? Are you going to NADA?
I'll be at NADA, yes. Yep.
Any advice for dealers to get the most out of NADA while they're there?
Have a plan. Have a plan, especially if it's your first time going. It is overwhelming, and have a plan of who you want to pre-schedule meetings with, what booths you'd like to stop by for demos, and stay focused.
Okay.
Try to go in with an idea of what you're looking for. Like make a list of what pain points do I have at the dealership, and that will help inform where you spend your time when you're on the show floor.
It seems much more precise than just walking around and then going to parties and then getting on a plane and going home and be like, what did I just learn?
Yeah, it's a long week. It's a haul for a lot of us on the East Coast to get out there. Hopefully there's not I don't expect there to be snow in Vegas this year like we had in New Orleans last year, but we also didn't expect snow in New Orleans last year. So it's, by the time you get out there and you've spent the money to go, you've booked your hotel room, you paid for your ticket, just make sure you have a plan to get something out of the show. and it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to hang out.
And go. I need to plug this, but we've got the vendor dealer mixer. We've got a 20 group of vendors. It's actually, I think, 23 vendors now, but it's dealervendormixer.com. We're at Paris, tons of fun drinks, whatever. And it's a cool environment for us to be able to sit down, engage with a lot of dealers,
Yeah.
hear what their headwinds are, what's interesting. I find I can do that on on these conversations.
Yeah.
But you should come if you haven't heard about it yet. I'll send you an invite.
Yeah, send me an invite. I'll try to make it.
Okay, I'll make these more rapid now.
Okay.
What is one word that describes bad onboarding?
Confusion.
Perfect. What is one metric dealers should watch for in the first 14 days with a new vendor?
Utilization.
Dang, did you prepare for this? These are good.
Maybe a little bit.
One question every dealer should ask before they go live.
It's the one thing that they don't ask, and it's what makes this fail.
Yeah. Yeah. What have dealers that you've onboarded in the past do that didn't work?
Yep.
One reason vendors get fired in the first 90 days.
Silence.
Easy to do. One habit that separates top performing dealer partners.
Proactive communication. I think proactive communication is key. Keep me up to date. Let me know when you're in stores. Let me know who you met with. Let me know of any problems. Be eyes and ears, and just there's no such thing as over communication. We may not respond, but there's no such thing as over communication.
And what I like about all these things that you've answered is it's all human. It's all doing good business. It's not silver bullets and just magic products that you sign up for and that's it.
Yep. There is no such thing as set it and forget it. You got to own your product. You got to support the people in stores. That's the key to it.
Well, Curtis Driver, I'm a big fan of what you're up to, what you bring to your dealership group, and now what you're starting to bring more and more to just the industry as a whole.
I appreciate it. It was good talking to you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. How can people connect with you or follow you? Is there any channels that you're active on?
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn or curtis.driver@capitalautogroup.com. It's the easiest way to get in front of me.
Cool. Well, Curtis, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Good to talk to you, Andrew.